Today's video was brought to you by Aniba.com. Aniba.com is a digital marketplace with over 20,000 digital products. And with an ever-expanding library, it's the go-to point for all your gaming needs. Checkout is simple, just add a selected game to your basket, select the payment method of choice, whether that be Trustly or PayPal, etc. Be sure to enter the discount code BANG for buck to save yourself an extra 3% off your purchase. Once payment has been accepted, you can then confirm if the key is from the correct platform and the correct region. Copy your code. This code is a Steam key, so all you have to do is go to Games and then Product Activation, paste in your key, and then you'll add your new game to your library. Very simple. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'll be doing a water block installation for my RTX 3090 Ti. So I went and got myself the Glacier G3090Ti water block. This is compatible with the Asus TUF OC and Asus Strix models of the RTX 3090 Ti. And I think PHANTEKS are one of the first people to market for the RTX 3090 Ti water block. EK water blocks will be available in June or mid-June till July. So I went with PHANTEKS. First time I've ever bought a water block from PHANTEKS, so hopefully everything should be okay. So you get the backplate and you get the main water block all together, and it's an RGB water block as well. So this is the backplate, comes in a separate box, and you get the main water block as well. And let me just quickly try and get this open. I really should have used a knife to open this up. So of course this has all been done already. I'm just doing a voiceover now because I did promise you guys that I'll document the installation just in case you guys try to do this yourself, or you're just interested in seeing the method or how it's done. So try and get this box to lay flat. So when you open the box, it just gives you a little thank you for choosing PHANTEKS. It gives you all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And protective foaming, so it is well packaged. And just look at the size of that block, it's absolutely massive. The last time I bought a full water block was for my R9 290, and that's kind of where I started my channel. So it's been a good 8-9 years since I bought a full water block. If you just look at the size of this thing, it's absolutely huge, and it looks really well made. Okay, let's see what's in the bottom compartment of the box. So you get thermal paste, and you get two 1/4-inch G4 fittings. That's just to block off the gaps. So those are necessary, so I'm glad that they included those. And there's also a direct RGB cable as well. So this basically connects the cable on the water block, so you can plug into your motherboard or your case, depending on if you got a PHANTEKS case. If you don't, you do have a converter. It's nice to see they enclose a manual. I know that sounds funny to say, but some companies only give you a link to download the PDF. As you can see on screen, I've got the PDF up available. I prefer to work off the PDF rather than looking at the manual. It's just a bit easier. So let me just get this thing open now. So yeah, I did say I wasn't going to water cool my RTX 3090 Ti, but I've actually decided that I'm going to keep this card. I'm not going to sell it. Even when the 4090 comes out, I will be keeping this card. So I thought I'd go ahead and water cool it, and just to kind of give myself an idea of what to expect when I do get my 4090 and how well my new water cooling setup cools. So I was very curious to see how everything performs, because I spent quite a bit of money on my external radiator and dual pump setup. So to be honest, the curiosity got the better of me. And to be honest, you know, with the RTX 4090 may be coming out now in October. I've still got like 5 months to play with this thing, so I thought it was worth doing, and hopefully you guys find this entertaining. Anyway, now I am using the Asus RTX 3090 TUF OC edition. TUF and TUF OC really don't have anything different in terms of like how they how the cards are built. Realistically, it's just like a factory overclock. That's the only difference. So this water block again is only compatible with their Strix liquid cooled models and the TUF. So they have got other versions, of course, but this was one of the first versions available. So I'm using my iFixit toolkit as well. There are quite a few different size screwdrivers you're going to need. So this little kit here, this is a 64 piece kit, like the basic version, but I'm telling you, it really comes in clutch, because sometimes you'll run into a size that you don't have. But this 64-bit, I don't think I've run into a size I haven't been able to deal with this iFixit kit, so highly recommend it. So anyway, there's 9 screws that you need to remove the back plate. I'm just, as you can see here, I'm just adjusting the PDF on screen. I have to really say PHANTEKS did a great job with the guide. It's so well laid out and so easy to follow. And I'm speaking to you now because I've already completed this. In the future, obviously, this is just me doing the voiceover, but it was so easy to complete this installation following their instructions. So as far as guides go, they definitely know what they're doing. So I've got 9 screws to remove here, and these 9 screws just hold in the back plates specifically. And the good thing about the guide, it tells you exactly what screws you need to remove, and so you don't need to waste your time pulling screws out that you don't need to remove, which is always annoying, especially when you don't know what screws you're removing. I mean, this is a very, very expensive card, so it's always kind of nerve-wracking doing this, because you know you're going to be voiding your warranty if something goes wrong. So I just thought, you know, at this point, I just want to go all in and really see what I can get out of my setup in terms of cooling, in terms of performance. So I thought I'd just go ahead and just go all in and water cool it. And I made sure I took a lot of results from how my card performs air cooled, so you guys can see before and after results. As I've looked around online, and you'll see people water cool RTX 3090s, but they're never very forthcoming with the temps and things like that. So I'm making sure that you guys get to see how this thing performs in terms of temperature, so you can count on me to provide you with some good side-by-side results. So just getting through this now, and almost there. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 more screws. So you got these 2 screws more in the middle of the back plate. These ones are spring loaded. So when you're doing things like this, I haven't got like a fancy Gamers Nexus mod mat with all of the places where things came from, but what I tend to do is once I remove everything, I put it in a separate bag, and I keep it safe, because the last thing you want to do is when you want to put back your air cooler on, that you don't have enough, you've lost 1 or 2 screws, and it's the worst thing in the world, because you can't just go online and just buy these things. They're very, very hard to find if you lose one. So I just pulled off my NVLink cover there, because I think it was kind of blocking a final screw that's at the top right of the graphics card. So I'm going to remove this now. So if you're hearing anything in the background, my washing machine is going at the moment, so I do apologize. So that's the final screw. If the guide is correct, the backplate should just pop off quite nice and easy now. There are some thermal pads at the back of the backplate, but they won't hold it in place too tough. As you see, that with minimal effort that came out. So that was the step 1. I'm removing the backplate, and we can now remove the main cooler now. So you do need to change the size of the screwdriver, because the 4 screws that hold the main cooler unit is very, very small screws. So of course these are spring loaded, so try to do this slowly and evenly. So if you're going to do it diagonally, so you have an even pressure, you don't want these screws popping off and hitting your ceiling, because they're very, very small and you don't want to be rummaging around on the floor to find these. So try to hold down the bracket as you unscrew these, because there's quite a lot of tension on these screws, because they're pretty much doing the bulk of the mounting of the main cooling unit. And just that little thing at the back is doing such a big job, but it does it really well. So Asus cards are very, very well built, and it's always nerve-wracking. because at this point it's no return now, because I've in Europe at least, once you damage that void sticker, you're committed now. There's no warranty anymore. But I think in parts of the US, the sticker doesn't really mean anything. So unfortunately for us in Europe, it's ironclad. You open a card, then there's no more warranty unless you're with a company like EVGA. They're actually happy for you to water cool your card, clean the card, and change the thermal paste, things like that, providing you don't cause any visual damage to any components. Then they're quite happy to replace anything if something goes wrong. So when my RTX 4090 comes out, I'll be looking to definitely get an EVGA model if possible. So I'm pointing here that there's 3 screws that need to be removed, just those 2 here and the one down here. And once you take out these 3 screws, you should be able to remove your heatsink. So I've chosen not to speed this bit up because it doesn't take me too long to get it off, and I'd have thought you guys would actually like to see in real time what it takes to get this cooler off. It's actually pretty simple. Asus made it quite easy to remove the heatsink. One of the most difficult cards to undo for me was the GTX 1080. Man, that thing was annoying as hell. You had these tiny screws holding on the back plate, and then once you removed the back plate, you had these bolts that you had to remove. It had so many screws, it was ridiculous. But with this, it's quite simple. So I'm going to try and take this apart now. And I was just kind of testing which, because I like to kind of take this off slowly because there are thermal pads attached, so you don't want to just pull it. So I try to kind of ease it away from the back to the front. So I realized there wasn't too much give at the bottom of the PCB. So I start working my way around the card until I find where it's easiest to pull it apart. So now I'll try pulling it from the front. There wasn't much give there. So what I do is I tilt the card on its side and then just pull the back of the PCB, and it just comes away quite easily. Now there are 2 cables you need to be careful of. So the top cable is what does the RGB on the TUF. There's a little RGB cable, it's nothing substantial. And then there's one at the back which I'm removing now. This actually does your fans. It's responsible for controlling all 3 fans. So be careful not to pull away the heatsink too quickly, because you don't want to snap those cables. And there it is. It comes away fairly easy. And as you can see, we've got the rear naked PCB now. And all the thermal pads are all stayed in place. Nice for when I put them back. When I do eventually put the air cooler back on, whenever that is, it will be an easy thing to do. I won't have to do too much apart from just repaste the thermal compound. So what I like to do is screw down the bracket that I removed onto the cooler itself, because those spring-loaded screws are quite rare and you don't want to lose those. So what I do is I screw the bracket back onto the air cooler. That way it remains safe. I'm just gonna speed this part up because it's nothing interesting. I'm literally just screwing it back in, and then it gets to the point where I can start cleaning away the thermal compound. Okay, so I've done putting away everything. It's time to change the screw, put everything away, and now it's time to clean away the thermal compound. So it's good to use isopropanol. This is basically like a cleaning alcohol. It does a great job of removing grease. Now I'm just using regular toilet paper and put a few dabs on this, and I'll start cleaning this away. You don't need to give this like a perfect finish. All you really want is to remove all of the compound away from the die. Everything that's kind of below the die, like around the edges, you don't really need to worry too much about that, because that's not going to be really making contact with the block itself. So don't have to be too meticulous with this part. I do what I can, and once I'm happy with it, I'll of course apply some fresh thermal compound. So trying to do this as gently as possible. There's these little capacitors, SMDs, whatever you call them. I'm not too clued up on the technical term, but I know something goes very bad if you displace them. So I'm extra gentle around the edges, because I don't want to pull away one of those little capacitors or conductors or whatever they're called, and just basically kill my chip and then kill my card, and that's like £2,000 just down the drain. Which yeah, I'd feel the sting of that 100%. Sorry about the camera not focusing here. There's quite a lot going on, but you guys get the gist of it. I'm just literally cleaning away that thermal compound, and it's a very delicate job, and I would suggest that you take your time with this and not apply too much pressure. Again, you don't want to damage your chip. That'll just be game over before you've even started. So just a little bit more around the edge of the chip. I'm trying to get away a little bit, but again, I'm being really gentle there. And then I think that's pretty much it. So I'm just giving you guys a quick look. That's about as much as you need, and you are now free to apply some new thermal compound. I'm just adjusting the PDF guide now to see what the next step is, and the next step is to apply the thermal compound. So I chose to use the thermal compound it came with. You could probably go with some thermal grizzly or something better, but honestly, it's not going to make too much of a difference. If you're really brave, you could go with liquid metal, but hell, I'm not about to do that, because you know, I can't afford to break this card, so I'm like kind of towing the line here, not doing anything out of the ordinary. So these are all the thermal pads that come with the main water block. So you can see me trying to orientate the pads to match how it's presented on the PDF guide, because all of the thermal pads are pre-cut, which is awesome. EK, they kind of let you cut it yourself. They will cut some of them, but like the memory chips, they'll kind of let you cut it. I don't know if things have changed over the years. It's been a long time since I've bought a water block from EK, but the last one I did buy, you had to basically cut them yourself, which was annoying as hell. And they also label and number each thermal pad, so you know exactly where it goes on the chip, on the card. So I try to go from 1 to the highest number, so all the ones are the memory. So you're going to see me take on the rather tedious task of peeling off these little thermal pads and applying them on the memory. So I'm going to speed this part up because it is quite time consuming, and I don't want to bore you guys to tears. So I'll show you one in real time, and I'll kind of speed up the process so you guys can arrive at the conclusion. This part is fairly simple though. Just keep following the guide. It's quite, I don't see how you would make any mistake here. They've really done a great job with the guide. They number every thermal pad, everything's already pre-cut. Just follow the instructions and you should be fine. So here is the finished result for the memory chips at least, and that's all done. So you can now move on to cutting, well not cutting, or applying all the rest of the strips, and I've just jumped ahead just to speed things up for you guys. I don't want to bore you guys to death, and that is how the PCB should be looking once all of the thermal pads have been applied. And you can now move on to applying some thermal paste. Now what is recommended is that you put a pea-size dot in the middle of the die, and this should spread out evenly once you mount the block. And yeah, this method works well from what I've seen online at least. It's always good to apply a little bit more than a little bit less, because more doesn't seem to really affect negatively. Obviously, you don't want to coat the thing in thermal paste, but let's just say my application is quite generous. Some people may say it's too much, but honestly, from what I've seen, applying a little bit more than advised isn't really going to impact things negatively. You just don't want to apply too little and not have enough thermal paste spread over the die, because that would be an issue. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is flip the PCB and apply it to the block. So you want to match up the block to the 4 holes in the center. Once you've done that, you want to then get these 4 screws, and these screws come with 4 plastic washers as well. So make sure you put the washers over the screws before applying them to the back of the PCB. I guess it's to protect from any shortages or anything like that. So as you're tightening it up, you don't want to tighten too much yet, because you want to spread that pressure evenly. And you can almost feel, as you're tightening, you can feel the PCB pulling towards the block, as you can see, and you can kind of feel almost that thermal paste spreading underneath the pressure. So I try to do quite a fair, even job in terms of tightening them. I don't want to tighten too much, and I tighten from corner to corner. And then once everything's in place, I'll start tightening to the maximum pressure that I can. I don't want to put too much pressure because you don't want to cause damage to your PCB, but I think the screws are the perfect length because they didn't even need to put any spring-loaded screws here. And as soon as you get to the stop point, you know you don't need to over tighten. So that is pretty much it in terms of mounting the main block. That's all. You may be wondering about the RGB. You actually don't connect any cables to your graphics card itself. That's actually a cable that runs inside the block that I'll show you at the end. So here's the block, half mounted at least. Now we've got to apply the backplate. So that comes in a separate box, which is actually convenient, so you don't actually mix up what screws are for what job, which is I think the best way to go about things. So this is the backplate itself. It's got the PHANTEKS insignia at the bottom there. Just a nice smooth black finish, no engravings or anything like that. You do get a separate physical manual as well, which is always nice to see because not everyone wants to mess around with PDFs. I personally prefer to use the PDF though. And of course you get another bag of thermal pads, and you also get another bag of screws. So for the backplate there's 9 screws, and you get quite a lot of thermal pads as well. I guess there's a lot of circuitry at the back that they don't want you shorting out. And I would assume that the actual backplate itself has some kind of passive cooling element to it. So putting the thermal pads in the right position is important. What PHANTEKS have gone and done, which is very nice of them, is they've actually cut out all of the places you need to put the thermal pads. So there's no way for you to put them in the wrong place. And of course, like before, they number them and they tell you which one goes where. So just for the interest of time, I'm just going to skip through this and then I'll present you with the final result, and then I'll continue to mount in the backplate and finishing off the water block installation. So this is the backplate with all the thermal pads applied. I can now continue to mount the backplate onto the back of the PCB now. So you just want to line up all of the mounting holes flush with the PCB. Just need to get a better look at it. It's okay, so I just need to make a slight adjustment there, and that's fine. And now I can proceed to start screwing down all 9 screws. So there's no washers with these, they're just screws. So I'm just going to start installing all 9 screws to connect the backplate. So for the interest of time, I will be skipping through this as it's fairly simple enough. Apply all 9 screws to finish securing the backplate. So sometimes you do need to give the screws a little bit of force to push them down into the PCB to get it to bite. Sometimes if you find yourself just spinning for too long, you need to apply a bit more pressure. So this is the final screw now, and you'll see the PCB just kind of pull towards the back plate once it's bitten, and that is pretty much it. I'm just gonna do a bit of housekeeping now. Just want to make sure I keep everything in the right place, and that is pretty much it for mounting the back plate. This is how it looks once it's all connected. Very, very big water block, biggest one I've ever owned, but it looks good. It looks really good finish, and well put together. So my favorite part now is to pull away the protective plastic, and of course you want to do this last so you don't scratch anything while you're installing it. So yeah, as you can see, it's really clean finish. Just give you guys a better look there. So the last part is the RGB cable. This is tucked away at the bottom of the block. I had to use some tweezers to pull it out, and you get 2 RGB cables. The first one you connect directly to for water block. Now, depending on what case you got, you may have a PHANTEKS case that you can just directly connect this into your case. But if you don't have a PHANTEKS case, they give you a converter with a male and female RGB header. So I'm just going to connect that now. So you just connect the converter here, and once you've done that, I'll just quickly show you that it also has a male and female RGB header. So if you need the male one, it's just covered up by this little protector. But if your motherboard like mine, I'm using the Z690 Unify via MSI. So it uses like the female header. That will go straight into my motherboard, and that will just power the RGB, and you can control that by the MSI software. So here she is, guys, all plumbed up, and this is several hours later after leak testing has been complete, and it looks pretty sleek, it looks pretty sharp, and I've got a red and white kind of theme going on. This is what it looks like on the underneath. Probably be better if you side mounted it if you really want to show it off, but I'm not too interested in doing that right now. So I've just got the white RGB scheme with just a red fluid, and this is going out to my external radiator. This is the Mora 420 LT with the dual EK D5 pump and a 150 reservoir, and that's the EK Velocity 2 water block for the socket 1700, and I think I should get some good results with this. I'm gonna wrap things up now, give you guys a little side-by-side comparison from before and after in terms of temps. But that is pretty much it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.